What's up, everybody? Do you sometimes feel like your life is overwhelming? Like maybe it just seems too difficult, or maybe you're just not feeling well, like just feeling like a turd, like I sometimes do. Well, you're in luck because today's episode, we're actually going to be talking about this really cool uh, thing called Just for Today. It's a thing.
Just for
This is the
today. It is a
Existential
thing.
Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's up, Danny?
What's up, Ray?
Yeah,
So
so I
just for
was
today,
Yeah, so I was, like every once in a while I get stressed. And when I say every once in a while, I mean like every day. But every once in a while I get stressed.
constantly.
And so like there are some resources that I go back to quite often that help me out when I'm a bit stressed. And one of them is a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Really good book. And in
Hmm.
that, I heard for the first time about this little, it's not like a mantra or a saying. It's kind of like, it's a few sayings. It's like a page long. Okay. But it's called
Yeah.
Just for Today. And they mentioned it, and I think they read it in there. And I was like, ooh, wow, that's really cool. So I started reading it, in the morning just for today. Because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
gives you some like helpful instructions, like just for today. I can do this just for today. And
Mm.
I I saw a lot of benefit from it just from reading it, but also like starting to think about implementing these practices in my life. And so I thought it would be nice to share it and then kind of discuss potentially why these things might be helpful.
It's a good idea. It's funny too, because it's a thing from Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's funny because like people, I think a lot of people tend to overlook the resources there as being only for this one area. Like, oh, it's only if you have, addiction problems or whatever. But I think like what people forget is that addiction problems often are come with anxiety, depression, stress, pessimism, all this stuff that most people struggle with every day. So a lot of times they actually have good resources that are also just useful to anybody, I think, and they're worth looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the movie Thumbsucker, the mom in that says we're all addicted to something. So
Yeah.
I believe that everybody's addicted to something. Like whether it's a
Yeah.
socially acceptable addiction or whether it's not, I think we're all addicted to something because our bodies are just basically giant pain and pleasure receptors. And we're just
Yeah.
trying to seek
That's
pain and
all it
or trying to seek pleasure and avoid
is.
pain. Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, this was really
All right.
helpful. So I'll read it and then we can I'll read like one paragraph at a time and then we can discuss it and
All right.
hopefully it'll help some people out. We can also throw it down in like the a link to it in the show notes so people can check it out for themselves, or they can
That's a
just
good
search
idea.
just for today on Google. You'll find it. But another reason I like this is because like a while back, a few years ago, when I was going through some troubles, I called up a friend of mine who had like I think he had like 3 kids at the time. Now he has like 5 kids or something like that. Very prolific. But I was I
Yeah,
was
right.
I was like talking about what's going on in my life, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I just take one day at a time. Like that's all I can do." And I was like, "Yeah, that's a great strategy." Yeah.
If you have 5 kids, you definitely can only take one day at a time.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle my whole life problem at once. I can do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt I had to keep it up for a lifetime.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
I
that was
like that.
useful because it's so true. Because like sometimes just getting through a day is like it's like all you can do is just to try
Yeah.
and get through the day. But that's all you have to do because tomorrow's a new day. You might feel completely different. And I experience this all the time when I'll be in a really bad mood and it's just because I'm tired and maybe hungry and I just need to eat some
Yeah.
food and go to sleep. And then I wake up the next day and I'm like, what was I so worried about yesterday?
Yeah. Yeah. It is, it is funny because it reminds you to wait, to not worry about the future that you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's the other thing. Like, most of us, we stress about the future because it is unknown. It's easy to imagine all these horrible things. It's easy to imagine like, oh, like we were talking about it before we started recording it. Like, like I feel crappy today, and then you immediately think I'm gonna feel like this forever. This is how my life is now. Every day is gonna be like this. This is the end. I'm never gonna have energy again. I'm never gonna feel good again. And it's like because you don't know the future, you can make all these things up in your head, but they're not real. They're not accurate. So all you really need to do is just get through this day,
Mm-hmm.
sleep, and start another day the next day.
Yeah, and like I will try to live through this day only because so often I'm trying to have my whole life figured out today. And that's
Yeah.
that's when I get really far behind, because then I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so far from where I'm supposed to be. And it's just
Yeah.
like, of course I'm not supposed to have my whole life figured out today.
Well, and it's funny too. It's like trying to like in our heads trying to do things now and trying to like project like where we should be at some imagined point in the future and then comparing. It's like we do all this asinine like future looking to kind of make ourselves feel bad about now. It's kind of insane. When all
Yeah.
you have to do is do your best now and move on.
True. As an aside, another thing that I got from that book, how to stop worrying and start living, two sayings that everybody knows that if you just live by them, your life would be a piece of cake. One is cross your bridges when you come to them, and two is don't cry over spilled milk.
Yeah,
Because one's like stay out of
it
your
does
future, the
help.
other one's let go of your past. And you just do that and you're fine. But like we spend all our
Yeah.
time crying over spilled milk and crossing bridges before we get to them.
And I think,
Chill.
yeah, just not letting immediate things bother you so much. I think that's the same thing with this is like, yeah, you might have a bad day. Just get through that day, move on. Don't worry about
Mhm.
like the little things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. This is a good one though.
The next one is just
Okay.
for today, I will be happy. Most folks are as happy as they make their minds up to be.
Yeah,
This is
that
a
is
very
true.
true one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to something by Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. And he's a very like happy, outgoing personality. And he talks about how someone came up to him and was like, "Boy, you're in a good mood today." And he's like, "Yeah, I made up my mind many years ago to be in a good mood today." And it's like,
Yeah.
how about that? Like, how about that mentality? Like, so many people are waiting to find out about the external resources, what's going on externally to determine their own uh, happiness. And it's like, why bother?
Yeah.
Why not just make up your mind that today I'll be happy? You don't have to be happy tomorrow. You don't have to be happy yesterday. Just today. Just be happy.
Well, it's funny too. I think like it's a commitment that's worth making because we all say we want to be happy, and it seems like most people are just looking for the next thing to complain about.
I, I
You
don't
know?
think I don't think we
And
want to be happy, because we all say I'll be happy sometime in the future.
yeah,
I'll be happy when I'm rich. I'll be happy when I buy
yeah.
that car, when I have the trophies
I
back.
can't
I'll
possibly
be
be
happy
happy right
then.
now.
I'm too busy to be happy now. There's too many things
You know
going
what?
wrong.
I like it too because it reminds you that happiness is really a choice about how you're going to respond to the world, how you're going to, your attitude. It's not about what you have. It's not about where you are. It's not about any of that stuff. It's just about making that choice. Because if you are happy in each day, you can do so much more and things are bound to be better in the future than they would have otherwise been. So I think yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And it's realistic. That's what I like about this. It's like a realistic goal to set for yourself.
Dude, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Uh Abe Lincoln also said that most folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be. And surprisingly enough, Groucho Marx, I read Abe Lincoln's
Really?
biography, and Groucho Marx, he had this quote that he's like, I'd never want to be part of a club that would have me as a member. That actually was originally Abe Lincoln.
Really?
Yeah,
No kidding.
go figure, right? Okay, so anyways,
Yeah, Abe Lincoln said a lot of quotable things.
I know, right? On to
Stuff you
the,
want to steal.
I know, right? On to the next thing. Uh, just for today, I will adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust everything to my own desires. I will take my luck as it comes and fit myself to it.
You know, I I think what I really like about this too is it's like it's reminding yourself that to just be happy with yourself and to just take things, just to it's okay that things are just how they are. You don't have to like try and force the world to be. I think it's like going back to dichotomy of control, right? It's like that impulse we have to try and force the world to be a certain way to make ourselves feel better, when all we have to do is focus on ourselves.
Yeah, it reminds me of that story of the guy who was walking barefoot and he's like, "Oh, the ground hurts my feet." So he wraps the whole
Yeah.
entire earth in rubber so it doesn't hurt his feet or something like that. And it's like you could just put on a pair of shoes. Like yeah.
It's funny that it makes sense too. Like, this would come from people struggling with addiction because that's very much trying to control how you feel with external things, right? Rather than doing it the correct way, which is like internally through
Hmm.
your own means.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like we're so egocentric and guilty of
yeah,
this, like 100% guilty. We all think the world's about us. Like I was talking with Danny earlier about how like when other people have problems, they're simple to solve. But when they're my own
Yeah,
problems,
it's
it's a
super
nightmare
easy.
because I'm emotionally involved. I'm stuck in it. Like it's crazy.
Well, and I
But
do shit too. You can't just say the right thing.
yeah, yeah,
You can't just give somebody a plan. I have to actually follow through with it. It sucks.
yeah, exactly. So, but like it's crazy how we want to adjust everything else to cater to us, as opposed to just being like, okay, I'll just adjust myself to what is. Like, yeah, so
Yeah.
I like that one.
It's very Taoist too, right? That idea of just like, going with the flow of the natural universe and recognizing that, things happen because they're happening around you and you have to kind of fit yourself in too and not
Hmm.
go against it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
I've
So
been
the
trying to
next,
remind myself more of that actually, not to go against the current, like especially like with with learning stuff is a good example because like you always want to be faster and ahead and you imagine where you should be and then you get mad at yourself for not being there. I've been trying to remind myself more just like the process of learning takes time. Just go with that current and you'll get there.
hmm I
Don't
remember,
resist it.
yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like getting in the flow. And I'm not talking about that guy with the book that the name I can't pronounce,
Oh
that
God.
flow, because don't waste your time with
Everybody
that book. But
talks about that
yeah,
BS. Just
don't waste
yeah,
your time
do
with that.
it.
There are some books that like people just shouldn't read, like Flow and the Seven Habits of Highly Influential People and
Because
Thinking
then they're like,
Fast
it
and
feels
Slow.
like I'm working. I must not be in flow.
Yeah, right. But like a number of years ago, I used to do SEO, uh, and this was like getting websites to rank on Google. And I went to a meeting of like some of the best people in the industry who were making like multiple millions per month. And one of them said something that really stuck. And what it was that like it's important to recognize where things are going, to see where the flow is going, and then to work as hard as you can. Sometimes you have to paddle upstream. Sometimes you have to,
Yeah.
walk across dry ground, doing whatever you have to do to get into that flow. Because once you get in the flow, all of that effort is going to be amplified by leaps and bounds. So that's
No,
what
that's a
came to
good way
me
to
when
look
you were
at it
saying
too.
flow. Yeah.
Well, no, because I think that's true sometimes. Because sometimes we are like, the river's flowing one way and we're turning the opposite way. And the
If
only way to
everything in
get,
your life is really hard and it sucks, you're probably going against the current.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's a good way to look at
Yeah.
it.
Yep. All right.
You're
So,
fighting.
yeah. Oh, here's a good one. Just for today, I will try and strengthen my mind. I will study. I will learn something useful. I will not be a mental loafer. I will read something that requires effort, thought, and concentration.
It's a good one. I
Yeah.
like that. I
I
wish
like
more
that
people
one
did
because
that.
the average American reads one book a year. And it's
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
probably some like novel with Fabio on the cover or something,
It is
you
probably,
know,
yeah.
so many shades of gray, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
But like,
X number shades of gray.
yeah. So this was when I was feeling down last week or the week before when I was reading this. And I came to
Yesterday.
that paragraph, I know, right? This morning. And I came
Before I had my coffee, the second before I had, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sad 'cause I'm not immediately awake." Damn it!
and
Such a
and I came to
baby.
that paragraph. Like that was the first paragraph where I started like actually feeling good about myself for doing something in my life. Because like we were talking a while back about is a cold dark night on this side of Everest. How like we're both up to a whole bunch of stuff, and then like life is hard and we cry about it. And it's like why? Like this is like awesome. I will just for today I'll try and strengthen my mind. Like I'll read
Yeah,
something. I'll just try and get a little bit better. Like I don't need to be a master today. I don't even need to be good
no,
today. I just need to put in a little bit of effort. Put in 1% effort today. And then that'll compound over time and make a huge difference.
yeah. That is the fallacy, though, is that we think, we start exploring a topic and we think we have to be a master immediately, rather than recognizing that everything takes time. It just is going to take time. But you can build. You can do nothing today, and then that's the only way to definitely not go forward, right? Is to do nothing. So as long as
What
you do something, you're always moving forward. Yeah.
dude, that's one of the things I encounter this on a regular basis, how there's something that I want to learn and I buy a book on it. And then I'm immediately frustrated that I can't learn the book all in one day.
It's funny too. Like I think people don't realize too how many times, like, dude, I can tell you how many times I've read a book multiple times because I'm trying to learn. Like, actually, just recently. when I was away last week, I couldn't sleep one night. So I read it. I actually read like an entire 115-page book on this programming thing. And then, that really helped me because I ended up rereading sections of it as I needed to remember stuff to like kind of freshen my memory. And like, that's how you really, I think people don't realize too how much effort it takes to actually learn something, even just reading it sometimes. You just need to put in the work and then you get it, you get the
Yeah.
outcome.
I also think comparison is just like the devil because
Yeah.
it's so easy nowadays to compare yourself to these like complete outliers, these one in a million
Yeah.
people or one in a billion people. Like I, I know that Steve Jobs died years back, so maybe he's not as much in the limelight now as he was 10 years ago or whatever. But I'm reading his biography now, and it's like it's insane how every opportunity lined up for him. Like
Oh yeah, dude.
there's no way he could not have been who he was. Like his
Yeah.
mom worked
Yeah.
for HP and got him into some like young explorers group who just did stuff with electronics. His dad was a car mechanic, so got him interested in electronics super early. Then his
Yeah.
first job, he worked for Atari. He developed
Yeah.
Pong, like literally the game that created all games. He was responsible for creating that game, and it's just like all these things lined up perfectly. There's no way he could not have been somebody other than who he was. So like trying to
Yeah.
compare yourself with one of these people, like nowadays it's like Elon Musk or the Kardashians or whoever it is, it's just outrageous. It's ridiculous.
We know, and it is stupid because people forget. Like it's like even simple examples. Like I was saying to somebody the other day, like I might have gotten into snowboarding when I was younger if I had lived in Colorado or Montana, but I didn't. I didn't live somewhere with mountains and snow. You know what I mean? Like so, it's like so that wasn't part of my experience when I was younger. Like so, it would be weird to be like, oh, I wish I was a professional snowboarder when I was in my 20s. It's like doesn't make any sense. I didn't grow up there. I didn't have that opportunity. Like so thinking that way is just ridiculous. But it's like we're so those 0.001% examples are so thrown in our face now. You think back 150 years ago, people they were aware that there was a president. They're aware that there was like a queen or whatever if you're in like the UK or whatever. But it's like they're not there in your face every day, flaunting their wealth. Look at my new $500 million yacht, and then every paper reports on it when Bezos buys something. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just the hard part is we just you have to choose also what you look at. And I think, thinking about this just for today thing, like maybe like when you're feeling like that just for today, I'm not gonna go on social media. I'm not gonna watch the news, like remind yourself that this stuff is like the exposure doesn't help.
Yeah, and it's like back then, you literally only had the people right around you. So, and most of the times people lived within people, like everybody who lived together worked in the same factory. So it's like,
Yeah.
everybody's a factory
Comparisons,
worker. I'm a factory worker too. That's what it is. There's no
life can
worries.
be
Like,
good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like my family for the last 12 generations. Well, it's like, remember I was telling you, like, I was watching that thing on the ostrich feathers and that farm in Australia, and the guy was like a fifth generation ostrich feather thing maker. And he was like, I love my job.
Yeah.
I love my life. And it's like, yeah, because you're fifth generation. Like, that's all you guys knew. That makes total sense that was like a good life for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, he doesn't question anything else. He's not worried
Yeah.
about like the hell's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So the next one is
Fifth generation feather duster maker. That is funny, isn't it? It's like
that's crazy. Um,
22
just
generation.
just for today, I will exercise my soul in three ways. I will do somebody a good turn and not get found out. If anybody knows of it, it will not count. Come on. Hang on. There we go. I will do at least two things I don't want to do just for exercise. I will not show anyone that my feelings are hurt. They may be hurt, but today I will not show it. So this
I
is an
like that.
interesting one. Do somebody a good turn, do two things you don't want to do, and not show that your feelings are hurt.
I really like this one because it is all about one, reminding yourself that you have control over how you respond to things
Mm,
and actually forcing yourself to exercise control, not showing people that you're hurt if you're hurt. And it's also, reminding you that you can do things without an end in mind. You can just do something for the sake of doing it. So helping people without the recognition, without being thanked, without needing that extra thing. just doing it for the sake of doing it. I think that's really a good one because it's super important. Like, the value of just doing stuff just because we can do it is really important. And I think, a lot of us don't do things unless we're getting something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like these are a couple more practices that help with the ego validation. Like we're like, I'll do something good if I get something. What's in it for me? You know?
Yeah.
And then like also just being like, yeah, so what? You're hurt. People get hurt all the time. Like people are being killed all over the world. What? So what?
Yeah.
You know? And then the other thing that I like is I will do two things I don't want to do just for exercise. How
Yeah,
often
that's a good one.
how often do we stop ourselves because we don't want to do it? Like we know we should do it, but when the opportunity comes up to do it, we don't feel like doing it, so we stop because our emotions say
Dude,
no.
yeah. So
And
many times, dude, where you just give up on something because you just feel like, oh, it'll be too hard, or I just don't feel like right now I could just sit and watch TV, or I could do that, and you don't do it, and it's like, well, just try starting. And we talked about this so many times. Once you start, it's usually like, dude, it's like there's so many times where I'm like, just do it for 5 minutes, and then once I start, next thing I know, 3 hours have passed and I've been working,
and it's
and it's like
done.
been
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as
And it's
as soon as I
done.
focus on it, I'll start doing it. It's like it's ridiculous, but we make
Yeah.
it so. I swear to God, our imagination makes everything so goddamn hard.
Hmm.
It does. It
Oh yeah.
really does.
Absolutely. And I like how it says just for exercise. Like,
Yeah.
because like so often we want to do it to be an expert on it, to get it done, to make it
Yeah.
perfect. And it's like, no, I'm just doing it for exercise. Like, because when you're just doing something for
Yeah.
exercise, it doesn't matter. You're just doing it and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it makes it like a lot easier to just do.
What's funny too? You know what I really there's like a digression, but one of the things I really love about programming
We haven't done
is
any
like, and
digressions yet today. No
yeah,
digression.
I know. We had none. The no, one thing I really like about learning it though is like it's really taught me. I think it's helped me see that like things don't have to be perfect the first time too. They just have to work. And you can always and like once you get like I've noticed that with like especially when you're programming like simple programs, like once you get it to work, then you can go back and keep tweaking it and make it better and better and better. And you can do that pretty much indefinitely. And it's like it's funny because like I used to notice that like when I used to do school assignments, like I'm writing papers, like I wanted to be perfect the first time through, and it was so stressful. But in the reality, then I realized like later on, I think this is my first run of grad school. If I just wrote out my argument first, then I could go back through and edit, and it's way easier to do it that way because you can always improve on it. You just need to get the core thing structured down. And I don't know. It's just yeah, it's fun. It reminds me of
That's
that.
such a good point. Like I've experienced the same thing because with the master's program, I have two, at least no, I have four written assignments each week. And so and every
Yeah,
time I
they do
read
like to pile on the work for no reason, don't they?
every
It's so stupid.
every time I read the assignment, I'm like the feeling is like a clench of my gut and like, oh, I don't want to do this. But then all I do is I open up Microsoft Word and I'm like, okay, I like that's literally all I do is like I read what I have to do. I get that feeling, oh, I don't want to do this, and then I open up Microsoft Word, and 30 minutes later, an hour later, it's done.
What's funny? My one professor who was a practicing Buddhist, he said when he had to write papers, he would always just sit in front of the computer with Word open and meditate and just let whatever comes. And he's like, sometimes I'll sit for 8 hours and not do anything. I'm like, damn, that is some solid thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but dude,
but it's a good method.
it's
Yeah,
crazy the stuff that comes up because I do the Wim Hof breathing in the morning, and that's like similar to meditation. And dude, like
yeah,
the thoughts that pop up that are just like revolutionary that are revelations. I don't. It's just
yeah.
nuts. Like these thoughts,
Epiphanies.
I every not every time, but like many times, I'll just like jump up in the middle of it and be like, "Oh my goodness, I have to write this down," because it's just something
Yeah,
crazy. And it's just, I think it's because we're so busy with our mind all the time that once we actually let it settle down, like there are these things that want to get out of us, but we're so
yeah.
occupied with other garbage that we don't let them.
Well, dude, so much of you like, I've had so many experiences in my life where I like if I let something go, the problem gets solved because my brain's still working on it. And I know it is. And I've learned to like just let it happen. Like so when I get stuck, I'll go shower or I'll go do something different. And then usually the problem's solved. Like it's like magic. Like solid like sometimes it feels like that. Like I get like when in the ancient Greeks used to say like, all the writing was because of muses and stuff. Like it actually feels that way sometimes, where you feel like I didn't even write this or I didn't even think of this. It just like literally feels like it came from, thin air and just was planted into your brain. But yeah,
Well,
I
we
think you're
can't
right.
we
We don't,
can't prove that it's not.
yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. We can't.
Yeah.
But we don't give ourselves enough time to be bored and to just think. And like I think that's, why it's so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next one is
I don't even remember what we're talking about.
we're doing this thing called
No, I
just
know.
for today.
Yeah.
So just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try and improve or regulate anybody except myself.
Damn, that is a tall order for today.
I know, right?
Woo. No,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
hard one.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, because
That's
I
a
mean,
very
in
good
the
one.
end, it comes down to the dichotomy of control, like not try and improve or regulate anybody except for myself. But it also just has some like good, well-mannered habits. Be agreeable, act courteously, dress well. Yeah.
But you know what, too? There is something to that. Like, I think, like, like if you don't take care of yourself, it shows. And you're not going to be able to take care of the stuff you're agreeing to or your responsibilities either. So, like, there is that time where, like, I think, like, that's one of the things a lot of us struggle with. I noticed myself, like, when I was really depressed and all, like, I had to realize that I had to take care of myself first before I could do all the other stuff I wanted to do, because otherwise the other stuff's not going to happen because you're not in a space where you can actually be responsible and accountable yet. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's really cool because like you have to figure out your own shit first and take care of it and be able to, have self-control throughout the day before you can do anything else. And that's a really important one. Yeah.
Yeah, not to mention when you're struggling, it's hard to have enough energy to take care of yourself. And if you're spending all that energy criticizing other people and like
Yeah.
pouring yourself
Find
into their life,
fault.
you're not going to have anything left for yourself.
It's funny too that people that like look for fault in everyone else and stuff too. It's because they're unhappy with themselves. It's what it
Hmm.
is. I
Oh,
mean,
totally.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah, my mom used to tell me that when I was young. She's like, anything you don't like in someone else, that's something you don't like in yourself. And I'm like, shut up.
Shut up, bitch. I definitely don't like that in you.
I was like, damn it, that's so true. Shut up.
It is true. It's very true. Oh God.
So just for
Don't make
today,
me realize things about
I
myself.
know I'm too young to know this. What are you doing? Messing up my whole life.
My whole perspective on shit.
Right?
Oh God, that's funny.
Uh, just, just for today, I will have a program. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have it. I will save myself from two pests, hurry and indecision.
Oh, I like that. You know, there's a really great reading. It's called by Ortega, Jose Ortega, I think. But anyway,
The
he
guy
wrote
who makes the salsa, right?
yes, that's him. Yeah. Yeah, he philosopher. I want to say Portuguese or whatever, Spanish, Portuguese, something, but he wrote an essay called Man is in Nature. And what he talked about in that is that like what we have is like we're constantly making ourselves. So we have these ideas of what we want to be, like a life project or program that we try to manifest or make real through action. And it's that recognition that we're self-creating. So whatever you do is making, you're defining yourself with every choice. And it's really recognizing that responsibility for making yourself, but also the power we have to kind of imagine what we want to be and make it happen. So I think this is cool because it's like having that project today of who you want to be and just for today making that happen, working towards it. Like I like that idea. It's a good one.
Yeah. I like it. I like it also because when I actually have stuff written down to do, it gets done.
Yeah.
And also it's also a to-do list and a not to-do list. And in that once I get like I only need to schedule time to do this stuff today because this is important to do today. And then once I'm done that, I'm actually done for the day and I can actually start enjoying life.
Yeah. Do
So
whatever you want. Yeah.
yeah.
Have your free time.
Yeah, that's been
It's
helpful.
funny when you start. I approach it. Dude, if you saw my note app, it's like there's so many notes, and there, I do all my scheduling on that, and it's nice because, like you said, like when you start looking at it as like what you need to get done list to be done for today, you realize that it's so easy to give yourself more time, free time to do explore other things because all you have to do is knock that stuff out and it's done. And it's like, but we usually stress so much about even starting rather than just getting it over with. It's really funny.
And it's crazy. There's I think it's called Parkinson's law or something like that about how the time it takes to accomplish a task swells to the amount of time you have to do it. Like
Yeah,
so like I this week is finals week and so I had three final projects due. And I they're due Sunday and I could have taken, until Sunday to get them done, but I had a bunch of hours today and I was like, okay, I'm going to have all three of them done by the time today's over. And in the beginning,
yeah,
it seemed somewhat unreasonable, but I was just like, just banging them out. And I'm like, oh, I only got 4 hours left. I better work faster. And I better. And by the end of the day, I got them all done. And now it freed up some time where I could have been in like, oh, it's due Sunday. So I could just wait until Sunday and blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
But yeah, now I'm done.
Well, that's it's funny when we know it's due later. Like I did that in college too. You always wait. You know about how long your head it's going to take, so you just wait till the last possible minute. I'm like, all right, I have 8 hours. Now I got to actually sit down and do this for real. Maybe I'll
Right.
make a coffee. It's like,
I should call my friends, see what they're up
yeah,
to.
make sure they're all okay and they're
I
not
want,
stressed out
I
during
wonder if anything
exams.
changed in the reruns on TV.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true though. It
Yeah.
is funny. Yeah, I think like having that program is just getting started is such a good thing. It
Hmm.
is
And
helps every
it
day.
also helps from hurry and indecision. So like it's saving because
Yeah.
I always find that I'm hurrying everywhere, and so like this is an active practice that I have of kind of like slowing down, and uh because I have this faulty mental model that other people should walk faster. Like
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
truth in my mind, and when they're not, I get really angry. So like every time every time they're not walking fast enough, I'm like, okay, is that actually true? Maybe not. Maybe I should walk
Yeah.
slower. Just maybe, you know.
You know,
But also
it's funny. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say also indecision because like the times in my life when I felt worse is when the worst is when I didn't have really have a vision for my life. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. I just had a whole bunch of time and no direction. So like having a program saves you from that indecision.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. It's so important. I think it's like probably essential for feeling like you have meaning and purpose is having something to do. Having even if it's just like I want to be a better person. Anything because then you can effectively work towards that goal, And it's funny, like I think it's so important. Like, it's funny. One thing I realized about myself is it was because when we were on vacation, Anna said she likes traveling with me. She's like, you don't care when things go wrong. And like, I didn't ever realize that, but I don't really care. It's just like, it just happened, whatever. But like, it is a good thing because like, I know she does get stressed about it. And like, so, it's like, it's easier to deal with. It's like, whatever. Because it happens. It's going to,
I
you know?
that's funny. I have noticed that about you, and that's like a great character trait where you're just like chill no matter what happens. But
What are you
I
going to
I was
do?
laughing because my dad, he's like the exact opposite. Like whenever there's traffic, he's like, "Oh, I knew it," and like it ruins
Yeah.
his day. Like literally anywhere you drive nowadays, there's traffic. So like,
Yeah.
but like he loves to drive. He won't let anyone else drive, but traffic ruins his day. And it's
Yeah.
just
Well,
uh,
that's how it's funny though. I know so many people like that. That's how she is. And it's like, but it's gonna be there.
yeah.
Just who cares? Like, it
Yep.
took me a while to get there though. It's hard, but it does help.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
So the next one is just for today, I will have a quiet half hour all by myself and relax. During this half hour, sometime, I will try and get a better perspective of my life.
that's a good one too.
Hmm.
You
I,
know, that is one of the most helpful things is just scheduling time to sit and reflect and be quiet. Like not with your phone, not with the TV on in the background, just actually giving yourself time or a walk, anything like that. Like, it's like because I was laughing the other day because I actually realized how often I do that a day, which is way more than one half hour. Like I take multiple walks, but I think because it's necessary. Like even the practice of like just getting up every time you get stresses, I'm just getting up and walking away from it for a minute and then coming back. It's so helpful.
hmm. Yeah, this one for me is necessary because I err on the side of doing way too much. And so
Yeah.
like actually taking the time to relax, because most of the time when I'm like way off kilter, it's because I'm just tired. Like I
Yeah.
literally just
Yeah.
need to sleep or relax or go for a walk in nature or do something else because I'm just burnt out. And so having this where I read this every day and I'm like, okay, today I need to take an hour and just chill. And it's not an hour and watch Netflix. It's like an hour and actually just like chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or half
Just sit
hour.
for an hour.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny, like, well, it goes back to having that program too. I think like there is something to be said for having at least like I've noticed like my days go so much better when I have like a little bit of structure. Like you wake up, you have like your to-do list, you have like at least a plan of what you're gonna do. It doesn't have to be very specific, but like something there so you kind of know how long things are gonna take, you know how much free time you're gonna have. It just makes it so much easier. And getting that habit of structuring your days, I think we are creatures of habit. It makes things just go smoothly. You feel like you have that control over what you can control, and it's just like life is better, I think.
Hmm.
You're more decisive, you make better decisions, I think you're more clarity on what you're doing. Like it's just, yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, there was a helpful thing that I got from Mel Robbins' book, The 5 Second Rule, where she was talking about, I think she calls it her 30 before 7:30, where basically she just sits down for 30 minutes or so and reflects. But during that time, she asks, like, what are the two things that could move me closest to my goal? So, like, first, you need to determine what your goals are and where you're going. But then, like,
Yeah.
early in the morning, because that's when your brain does its best work, is like actually sit down and be like, what would be the best things I could do today to move me towards my goal? And then write them down and then do them that day. But like taking that time to actually write them down, that's something that I started implementing. And it's like huge because there were these things
Oh
on
yeah,
my
dude.
to-do list that have been there for months. And there's stuff that I
Yeah.
need to do, but they're not like urgent. They're very important, but they're not
Yeah.
urgent. And so they've just been sitting there on the list because they're not urgent. And so I just keep putting them off. So ever since doing that, I've been getting a ton of stuff done.
Dude, once you write it down too, it's like you get it done. It's amazing. It's really funny how that works. But dude,
Mhm.
it's funny, like I think the goal thing too, like I've noticed that myself. Like your goals don't have to be. It could just be like I want to be a better person, or I want to learn more today, or whatever. It's just anything that has to do with improving yourself is always a good goal because I think you just then you're working towards a better future. And it's like easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
crazy that the future isn't more of today. Like
Yeah.
almost invariably, the future is going to be better than today.
Yeah.
If you have positive habits, almost
Yeah.
invariably the future is going to be better. And yet I know at least for myself, I get stuck in like, oh, it's not gonna be good, it's
Yeah.
gonna be worse than today. And it's just like it
Every
doesn't
day
make
is gonna be
sense.
like this.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but that's just what
It's
happens.
just gonna get exponentially worse over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
And
It doesn't happen.
that's why this is helpful because I get stuck in this like mental mind loop of trying to figure out my whole entire life today and having
Well,
this.
and the nice thing is too, if you have this, you can go back to it in the middle of the day if you need to. If you need a reminder, you can go back to it whenever you want. Like
Yeah.
I honestly, I would encourage people if they're really struggling to just print it out and put it like in your wallet or something
Hmm.
and carry it with you because it's a good reminder to go through that list. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the last one.
Mm.
Just for today, I will be unafraid. Especially, I will not be afraid to enjoy what is beautiful and to believe that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
That's a good one. It's a very spiritual one. I like that. Yeah.
That's an Alcoholics
Boom.
Anonymous mic drop right there.
That is,
I
that is.
I like that one for many reasons. So, uh, just like the thought of being unafraid. I remember when I was in vet school, our anatomy professor was this crazy wild dude, but everybody loved him. And like he was always like, be bold. And he would just like
Yeah.
that was like his he would just say that to people all the time, just be bold, be bold, be bold. And because like we'd be dissecting animals and different stuff like that, and people would be like, cutting teeny little pieces and very, very slow. He's like, be bold. And he would just like slash the thing and uh but like I think he meant it like both on a learning anatomy thing, but also on like a life narrative thing. Like be bold. If you're not bold, if you're afraid of everything, you're never gonna really accomplish the things that you want to do. And then I also like the things that it says here about like being bold enough to enjoy what's beautiful, like being grateful. And
Yeah.
and the coolest thing is like believing the golden rule. that if you contribute to the world is going to give back to you. Like we live in a very positive world. If we didn't, it would just
Yeah,
kill us, you know?
yeah. No, I think it's true, and I really do like that though, like to be unafraid because I think, like you said, like so much of what holds us back is just fear and pushing yourself too, like trying things that are maybe you think too hard that scare you because then you're going to learn the most. Putting yourself out there, not being afraid to mess it up because it does. Things get messed up. It's not the end of the world. You can fix it later. Like I think we get so stressed out and petrified and paralyzed with our fear that we don't do anything. And that's like the worst place to be in. So yeah, I think that's just for today, being unafraid is really cool. And like you said too, I think especially just about admitting what's beautiful in the world, what's good in the world, what's great, even if there's a lot of negative things going on, don't be afraid to just look at the positive. I like that a lot. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that in a nutshell is just for today. I mean, I've been reading that every morning
I
and
think it's
it's
super
great.
helpful. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
really good. I'm glad you sent it to me. I think
Yeah.
it'll help people a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
They
have
have
I
good stuff. It's funny because, like I said, like I think you know, people struggling at their worst often have good resources when they're trying to, it's like,
yeah.
I
I
think
think
it makes
yeah,
sense.
it's crazy because this isn't the only I don't remember exactly what else it was that I learned from Alcoholics Anonymous, but like this isn't the first thing from AA that's been very, very helpful. And so like
Yeah, I mean, it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, they got good resources, certainly. So that being
Just for
and the
today.
best part is you don't need to be an alcoholic to use it.
No,
Uh,
yeah, you can just be stressed and anxious and a normal person.
yeah, you could just be a social media aholic.
Yeah, just
Or a
yes,
newsaholic or
yeah, a
whatever else.
newsaholic
Yeah. Or a fast
or a
walker
negative
aholic
Nancy.
like me.
Yeah,
A fast
there you
walker
go.
aholic. Yeah. So, anyways, that's all for today's episode of the Existential Stoic podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. Thank you so much
I
for
did.
joining us. Danny did too. And thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Check us out on YouTube, also the podcasting applications. Make sure to join us. We come twice a week with fun stuff. We're almost up to episode 200. That's
Yeah,
coming up sometime in the near future.
it
Anyways,
is.
I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.